Well, happy Halloween, Tennessee Valley. We're starting off with a look at our morning low temperatures today because, yes, it was chilly. It was a flashback to reality out there for many of us this morning when you stepped out the door. Many folks saw morning low temperatures down into the 40s, but this is actually fairly nice and pretty much right around where we should be for this time of the year. We've got colder weather heading our way, and it's continuing to move in with those northerly winds now. So over the past 24 hours, these numbers are about 15 to 25 degrees colder than where they were yesterday at this time. Remember, yesterday we were tracking that front slicing through the middle of the Tennessee Valley. Well, now you can see that everyone's starting to get in on that cooler air. Finally, we've made it out of the 30s up there along the plateau, up to 41 degrees in Altamont, 51 degrees in Murphy, still 46 in Blue Ridge, 48 in Athens, 50 degrees in Cleveland, 51 in Dalton and Calhoun, and 50 degrees in Lafayette. So these temperatures, again, well below where they should be for this time of the year. And again, this is just the beginning of that cold air surging south and east. So right now we've got these winds coming in out of the north, anywhere between 10 to up to 15 miles per hour at times. So it's definitely brisk when you step out the door, and that will be a trend that you will notice throughout the rest of this afternoon. In fact, take a look at the wind chill. Yes, the wind chill map. Just a couple of days ago, we were talking about a heat index close to 90. Now we're talking about wind chills in the 30s currently up along the plateau. It's feeling like it's in the 40s in places like Athens, Cleveland, Dalton, Lafayette. So it is a chilly day out there. And again, this is just a little bit of a taste of the cooler air. So we're finally beginning to break apart some of these clouds. The clouds, of course, we talk about this a lot, act kind of like a blanket at night, so it helps to hold the temperature up. And that's why we saw low temperatures only in the 40s last night for most areas here. But as we're beginning to clear those skies out and seeing more sunshine, that's going to allow for another surge of cooler, drier air to the north and west to begin to work its way in. So the very warm and muggy air that we saw over the weekend, that's now down off towards the southeast coast. Behind that now, we're seeing this first surge of cooler air settling into the southern half of the country. And then notice behind this front, that's where we have even colder weather. And that front will be working its way through later on today. And that's going to set us up for a much cooler night heading our way just in time for Halloween. So let's talk about Halloween for a second, just because it is the holiday, right? The average high on Halloween is 68 degrees. The warmest on record here in the Tennessee Valley was back in 2016, where we saw a high temperature of 86 degrees. Many folks probably sweating in those Halloween costumes back then. And of course, we were only 85, 86 degrees just this past weekend. So it's not unheard of. The record coldest high temperature for that day is 40 degrees. That was back in the 1954. Thankfully, it's not that cold. And believe it or not, yes, we've had snow before on Halloween. Only a trace reported at the airport. But back in 1993, yeah, a trace of snow, if you can believe that. Of course, 93 was remembered for a little bit more snow, if you remember earlier in that year. That was back in March. But of course, it just lets you know the weather can be all over the place this time of the year. And today, yeah, we're going to be closer to one of the colder Halloweens that we've had on record out there, with highs only in the mid to upper 50s in the valley areas, upper 40s up along the plateau. So it will be kind of scary, especially as we go into the evening hours with these temperatures falling from the 50s down into the 40s as we go throughout the evening. And with the wind blowing, it'll make the wind chill at times feel like it's in the 30s. So jackets will be required. And look at the widespread, this is what we call a deep south, deep freeze across the area, as many folks under freeze warnings all the way down to the Gulf Coast. But of course, here in the Tennessee Valley, we all under freeze warnings, which basically means the end of the growing season, as these temperatures are cold enough that they could damage or even kill some of the crops and sensitive vegetation. And of course, we want you to be aware of that as we drop down. Look at these lows: 23 in Altamont, 28 Dayton, 26 Athens, 24 Murphy and Blue Ridge, 31 in Dalton, upper 20s in northeast Alabama, and we'll go with about 32 in Chattanooga, one of the warmer spots tonight. So again, with the first fall freeze out there, the 4 Ps, remember, of course, to heat those homes safely. Watch out for those little small little heaters that you use. Of course, bring the pets inside. If you're cold, hey, they're cold too. Move those potted plants indoors or cover them up with the plastic. And of course, insulate and cover those exposed pipes and faucets. We don't want anybody dealing with any plumbing issues come tomorrow morning. Yeah, we'll always usually have some of those, so be aware of that. And of course, with it being dry, yeah, let's still have to talk about that fire danger as well. Let me show you your 7-day forecast, because the big story, hey, it's Halloween, but look at these low temperatures of trees. It's not a trick, and it's not a treat.
I was going to say, yeah. It's not a treat either.
No, not a treat either. 32 degrees Wednesday morning, 29. These are Chattanooga temperatures, by the way, Thursday morning, so it gets even colder. 32 again on Friday morning.
Wow. Okay. Turn that heat on. Thank you, Cedric.